Kwaba, and welcome to this week's edition of Ghana in Focus with myself, Kwame, Ghanaian broadcaster, writer, journalist, podcaster, and entrepreneur. And in this week's edition of Ghana in Focus, it's the last in our series about Ghana Heritage Month, and we're looking about Ghanaian family values and why the LGBTQ plus I agenda is against or anti those Ghanaian family values. All right, so that's the theme for this week's episode of Ghana in Focus, looking at Ghanaian family values and why LGBTQ is anti-Ghanaian family values. All right, so before we get into the podcast, just to make you aware that the podcast is being sponsored by Grow For Me Ghana. Grow For Me Ghana is a great initiative that seeks to support and help Ghanaian farmers. So if you would like to sponsor a Ghanaian farmer, I will leave you the link to Grow For Me Ghana in the footnotes to the show. Again, if you like what you hear, please share to your friends, your family, to your social media networks. You can subscribe to the Ghana and African Focus podcast anywhere in the world from any of the various platform providers, be it Google, Spotify, TuneIn, etc. And on that, for my, if you listen in the US and you subscribe on Google, Google will be phased out in the US next week. So if you are a subscriber on Google to Ghana in Focus, and please, you will need to subscribe to Ghana Africa in Focus on YouTube, okay? Because if you are in the US, Google will no longer exist as of next week, okay? And again, for the rest of you, if you are on Google, Google will cease from June. So again, start to migrate to YouTube, where you can subscribe to Ghana Africa in Focus, and also click the subscribe button, meaning that you'll be notified by YouTube every time I upload a new podcast. And also in Spotify as well. We want to try to get 800 followers to Spotify. Again, you're going to migrate to YouTube as well. But in the meantime, you can subscribe to the Ghana Africa in Focus podcast on Spotify podcast. All right. And if you would like to donate to the show to help us continue the great work that we've been doing, you can donate as little as $2 a month to the show and help us with our costs and what have you. And also, if you are wanting to come to Ghana on business, you want to buy property, you want to buy land, we do offer a consulting session whereby we can tailor-make a consultancy package based on your needs, all right? So again, if you want to book a session with myself, I will leave you my email address in the footnotes to the podcast, and you can get in touch with me and we can book you in for your consultation. All right, so this is the last in our series looking at Ghana Month, and I thought we'd do one about Ghanaian family values, and also this issue about the LGBTQ agenda that's quite hot potato in Ghana, particularly now that the law has been passed, or rather not the law, that the bill to outlaw LGBTQ activities has been passed by the Parliament of Ghana, but we'll come into that a little later on. So, Ghana is your typical African country. Ghana is, upholds family values to the hilt and is part of our African culture. So, even though Ghana is like 70% Christian and about 25% Muslim and 5% indigenous spiritual beliefs, the family values, underpin Ghanaian society, and the strong family values or that what we believe in is that a woman and a man, or a man and a woman, and then the children. Yep. So this is what we mean by traditional Ghanaian family values. Yeah, because in the Ghanaian culture, and by extension in African culture, and this is even long before advent of Christianity and Islam, we look at our, ancient spiritual practices, that we believe in the concept of the family, and in that regard, the family is the woman, the man, and the child, or the man, the woman, and the child. Yep. So we didn't believe in man and man, and definitely not believe in woman and woman. Yep. So this is the quintessentially African family values that has served us right from the time or the dawn of civilization. However, and we believe also as African people that, the family is the cornerstone of a nation and also the cornerstone of a people, a race. And so this is why, many African cultures believe, in the issues of the family and also within the marriage context of the family environment. And also we believe that, as part of that marriage, the man and woman, or the woman and the man, should have offspring. Yeah. That again will lead to the furtherance of the community, of the nation, and of the race. So this is why in a lot of African cultures, probably all of African cultures, we believe in the strong family values, yeah? And the foundation of which is the female, the male, and then the children, yeah? So that's this traditional cultural stance of the African family. However, in recent years, particularly last sort of 5 to 10 years, we've seen the issue of lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual, activity creeping up, in countries like Ghana. Now, again, some of you would say that, Africans have always been homosexual, but like I keep on saying, if you look at our sacred books, if you look at the ancient spiritual concepts of African people, even the so-called religion of Islam and Christianity that we now have imbibed upon, nowhere in the sacred African texts, nowhere in the ancient African spirituality, and even in the so-called Bible and the Quran, nowhere does it allow for a man to sleep with a man and for a woman to sleep with a woman. Yeah, that is unheard of in the African culture and tradition. But, and even with the Christianity, as exposed, for example, in the book of Leviticus, for you Christians out there, the book of Leviticus says that man shall not lie with man because it is abominable in the eyes of the Lord. I'm sure there's the surah in the Quran that is similar to what I've just read out from the book of Leviticus. Yeah. And so, it is obvious that this issue of homosexuality was banned in traditional African culture. It is also banned in the religions, be it Islam or Christianity, that have been imposed on African people, because these are not necessarily indigenous religions. These are religions or spiritual beliefs, well, religions that were given to Africans by slavery. So in terms of the Arabs, they brought Islam to us, and that was done via the Arab or trans-Saharan slave trade. And I'm not going to go into that because I've talked about it many times. And you can also just research for yourself about the Arab slave trade. Yeah. And also Christianity was brought to us as African people via the so-called transatlantic slave trade from late 1400s to around about, early 1900s. Yeah. When Africans were forced, into accepting so-called Jesus as their savior and God. So, even with these religions, right, the issue of LGBTQI is, non-negotiable, yeah, because it's not accepted in those religions. But like I said, over the last few years, Western external agencies who have a lot of money, yeah, these extended bodies have begun to use very, very, I wouldn't say sophisticated, but for want of a better word, let's say sophisticated and clever means of trying to promote LGBTQ activity in Ghana. And so, you know, because of this is why issue with the LGBTQ agenda has been, apparent in Ghana. Now, in Ghana itself, uh, the issuance of homosexuality was first banned by the British. So the British, when they came to Ghana or when they invaded Ghana, they had a law that actually, prohibited same-sex relationships, same-sex marriage. So this bill, let me just see it now. Yeah, so in 1861, okay, homosexuality was criminalized under the Offences Against the Person Act. Okay, this is when, like I said, Ghana was under British rule. Yeah, and then following independence in 1957, Section 104 of the Ghana Criminal Code of 1960 criminalized unnatural carnal knowledge. Yeah, so and even in the new Constitution 1993, it outlaws homosexuality. So evidently, homosexuality is outlawed in Ghana. But like I said, in the last few years, Western agencies and their bodies have tried to infiltrate African countries like Ghana, South Africa, what have you, with their smart advertising, clever advertising, and very, very carefully packaged nuances to say that homosexuality or LGBTQ agenda is okay and there's nothing wrong with it. So this is what enabled some MPs in Ghana to put forward a private members bill that is called the Human Sexual Rights and Traditional Ghana Family Values Bill. Yeah, it's now been nicknamed the Anti-LGBTQ Bill. Yeah, so this bill, yeah, was initiated because of the creeping aspect by these Western agencies and the supporters of LGBT activities in Ghana. And so these MPs, I think there's about 8 of them, got together and put this private members bill, what is called the Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill. Yeah. So to cut on short thought, this bill, went through Parliament on 2 or 3 occasions, and there was a lot of debate about, the bill, whether the bill was, infringing on human rights of people, and also whether or not the bill was anti, the human rights of the LGBTQ community in Ghana, etc., etc., and also, how the bill is seeking to protect normal human sexual rights and the traditional Ghanaian family values I've just talked about at the beginning of the podcast. And so, to cut on short thought, this bill was approved. Yep. So this Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill was approved after about 3 or 4 readings by the Parliament of Ghana on the 20th of February, 2024. Yeah. And is now waiting for the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to sign the bill into law. Now, this is where the contention is, but I'll get onto that in a minute. Now, like I said, many people in Ghana, view LGBTQ activity as a threat to Ghana's democracy, as a threat to Ghana's sovereignty and as a threat to the traditional Ghanaian family values that I mentioned at the beginning. To the extent that you've had a number of people coming out and oppose the bill. So, for example, October 2021, the then majority leader in Parliament, Osei Chairman said that the Parliament would ensure careful balance in assessing the bill. Now, again, 5th November 2021, the Deputy Majority Leader, Alexander Afenya-Markin, said that the Constitutional, Legal, and Parliamentary Affairs Committee would begin to hear the bill. Yeah. Also, yeah, so on the 6th of December 2021, Moses fought unmanning of the National Coalition for Proper Human Sexual Rights and Traditional Ghana Family Values, spoke in support of the bill, saying that LGBTQ plus people were not well, and the law gives health authorities the power to restrain such people. Again, you know, the Parliament, they had its first reading July 23, and where Parliament unanimously voted to grant the bill a second reading. And then February 24th, as I just mentioned, you know, Parliament voted to unanimously pass the bill. Okay. And again, if you look at other commentary, so for example, you know, all the political parties in Ghana, apart from the Liberal Party of Ghana, support the bill. So the New Patriotic Party, the People's National Convention, the National Democratic Congress, the Convention People's Party, and the National Democratic Party all support the passing of the anti-LGBTQ bill. Also, the Osadefo Ajimambili II, President of Bono Regional House of Kings, stated that kings in this country are strongly behind the bill and threatened to storm Parliament with 10,000 people if the bill was not passed. Now again, Bishop of Asante Mampong and the Archbishop for the Church of the Province of West Africa, Cyril Kobina Ben Smith, said that the Anglican Church in Ghana would do anything within our powers and mandate to ensure the bill comes into fruition, and that church considered LGBTQ plus as unrighteous in the sight of God. All right, so these are just, you know, well, last bit here. On 12th December 2023, the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference reiterated its support for the bill, calling it a step in the right direction. Okay, so this, what I've just read out to you, is sort of wide range support for more sorts of Ghanaian life, from the political parties to the sub-kings to the churches, the bishops, you know, to high-standing members of the public of Ghana. They all oppose LGBTQ activity in Ghana because it is a threat to Ghanaian traditional family values, okay? And this is why Parliament unanimously supported the bill, passed the bill in 20th of February, just this year. Now, on that, and this is something that, you know, that is contention now as to why the President of Ghana is having difficulty signing the bill. Now, check this. Now, the Ministry of Finance, headed by Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, the Bank of Ghana, and also the Ghana Revenue Authority, cautioned the president against endorsing, as they put it, a contentious anti-LGBTQ bill. Okay, And the Ministry of Finance highlighted that the potential risk if the bill was sent into law by the president, that the country would forfeit a possible $3.8 billion, right, of funding from the World Bank in the next 5 to 6 years. Okay. So this is now the threat, okay, that Ghana is, in receipt of because Parliament has passed the anti-LGBTQ bill, and which is waiting the president of Ghana to actually append his signature to it to actually make it a law in Ghana. Even recently, the American ambassador to Ghana said that if this bill was to put into law, then it could jeopardize, relations with Ghana. Okay, and out of the Western countries, is the US has been the most vehement of this. But there's a few things here that, for me, spring to mind. So, first of which is that how dare the West tell Ghana as a southern country what is or what is not in the best interest of the country? Two, to threaten Ghana by withholding so-called aid money if Ghana signs the bill into law, or the president signs the bill into law, is tantamount to whitemail, tantamount to, trying to disable the country, so to speak. But more importantly, hasn't Ghana the right, as a supposedly independent sovereign state, to decide what's in its best interest without having external influence or being manipulated by external forces? Isn't that the whole idea of independence? And if 2 weeks ago, I did a podcast, about Ghana's independence. And I said that last year that Ghana is not an independent country. And this is precisely the nature of why I say Ghana is not an independent country, because if Ghana is not free to do what it feels is in its best interest in upholding traditional Ghanaian family values by signing into law this anti-LGBTQ act, then, that tells that we're not free people. We're still slaves. We're still colonized people. And for me, those who are against the bill have been, for me, they've been manipulated and they've probably been funded by these Western bodies, because how can you be opposed a bill that seeks to protect Ghanaian family values? Yeah, even the church and the imams, the chief imam of Ghana, for example, Sheikh Arimiao Shaibu, who's the spokesperson for the chief imam of Ghana, he said, this is the time to make the laws more stringent because of the force with which those activities are being promoted in our country. Yeah? And so, haven't the president of Ghana, who was voted by the people of Ghana, hasn't he got the right to sign this bill into law to ensure that Ghanaian family values are upheld and that LGBT does not, become the norm in our country? And I say to America, again, with all due respect, Black people in America have not, you talk about human rights, and Ghana signing this bill into law potentially could, hamper the human rights of LGBTQ people in Ghana. But I say to America, what about the human rights of African people in America? Under your Constitution, and you can research this for listeners, under the American Constitution, African Americans are free-fifth human being. They're not classified as human being. It's in the 14th Amendment that gives African people in America so-called any rights. But that has that stopped white people, Caucasian people in America treating African people like dog, like slave in America? Hmm? If African people in America were free, then there'd be no need for Martin Luther King. There'd be no need for Malcolm X. There'd be no need for Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, all these people that came, you know, to fight for the championing of African American freedom in America. Yeah? So America cannot talk about human rights when every day in America it violates the human rights of African Americans. And so they're saying, in Ghana, do fiasem. Do fiasem literally means mind your house matter, which then makes more English by saying that mind your own business. So America, before you try to threaten Ghana with $3.8 billion of so-called aid, right? You need to sort out your household first. Like I said, African Americans aren't treated fairly in America. We all know that. We all saw what happened to George Floyd. We all know that African Americans don't get the same treatment as Europeans or Asians or Chinese in America. We all know that, we all see the, in the aftermath of George Floyd, or the abuse or the inequalities that face African Americans. So you really need to sort your own house in order before you come and tell we in Ghana about rights of LGBTQ people. When you in America, particularly the American government, don't afford the same rights to your African population in America. Yeah? And like I said, secondly, we don't even need this money that you're wanting to give to us in aid, because like I said, if the Ghanaian government knew how to, raise its economy, i.e. getting more royalties from gold, from diamonds, from lithium, we wouldn't need this $3.8 billion of so-called aid from the World Bank and IMF. Yeah? Again, since 2017, Ghana has given the equivalent of $3 billion in tax waivers for a lot of, European and Asian companies. Again, if we didn't give them tax waivers, that's $3 billion more for our coffers. Again, $7 billion of gold smuggling went on in Ghana last year, i.e. illegal gold smuggled out of Ghana, ending up in India, ending up in China, ending up in, Dubai. If that was nipped in the bud by strong laws and also by customs and excise, that $7 billion that could go into the Ghanaian economy, meaning that this $3.8 billion that the US ambassador is threatening Ghana with, shows that we don't need that money. Yeah? Because this LGBTQ plus agenda is anti-Ghanaian traditional values, anti-Ghanaian family values, yeah? And we will not allow as Ghanaians, we will never allow as Ghanaians this filthy lifestyle and this filthy agenda, which is more about population control. Because if you look at my other podcast that I did about the real agenda of the LGBTQ agenda, it is about population control, because you will understand that this is nothing to do about human rights, nothing to do about family values. It is all about population control. Because if this thing was to, take its way in Ghana, man and man, woman and woman, right? There's not going to be any babies produced. So therefore, over time, if it was legal for a man to marry a man in Ghana and legal for a woman to marry a woman in Ghana, over time, you will see Ghana's population radically reduce. And Ghana is a small country. Ghana is not a big country. Actually, Ghana Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Ghana is the same landmass as Britain, yeah? But yet, Britain has doubled the people in Ghana. Britain's population is about 75 million. Ghana population, as the last census, is 31 million. So who's overpopulated? Even if you take the African people out and Asian people out and Chinese people out of Britain's population, right? You still have a population of about 60 million, still double that of Ghana. Yeah. So who's overpopulated? Yeah. So it tells you that Ghana is underpopulated. And if we allow this LGBTQ activity to go into, come into Ghana, right? Ghana will be very, very underpopulated in the next 5-10 years. Yeah. And so we cannot allow external influences to dictate to us as a sovereign people what is in our interest. Yeah. And what's in our interest, what is in our interest is to sign the bill, it's for the President of Ghana to sign the bill and make the bill law to protect Ghanaian traditional family values. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, this is what this is about. This is about the protection, foremost, of traditional Ghanaian African family values that has, we've had for millions of years, not even tens of thousands of years, but millions of years. Yeah. And as African people, we have the very right, yeah, to defend our cultural, traditional values. Yeah. And the family is key to those values that we have as African people. Yeah. And we cannot allow outsiders, particularly those who do not have the vested interests of Africans at heart, to dictate to us that we should somehow, ditch our culture, ditch our family traditional values in the sake of an alien value, which is LGBTQ, which is not in our interest. And so I hope you've enjoyed this edition of Ghanaian Focus with myself, Kwame, Ghanaian broadcaster, writer, journalist, and podcaster. If you like what you hear, please share to your friends, your family, social media networks. Please subscribe to the Ghana African Focus podcast on YouTube and other providers. And if you'd like to donate to the show, please, donate to the show so we can produce some more great content coming for you. All right, so in the next few weeks on Ghanaian Focus, we'll be doing some interesting specials. So we'll be having a couple of diaspora conversations from the diaspora, talking to some Africans who have from the diaspora who have migrated to Ghana and to share with us their experience and their challenges living in Ghana. So that's coming up in June. We've also got coming up next month, April. We've got a couple of specials about South Africa, and also a couple of specials about Ghanaian women, Black women in general, and also their hair and beauty industry and how that is killing Ghanaian women. And also in June, we'll be doing a special about investment opportunities in Ghana that you can tap into. So these are some of the things programming that we'll be doing over the next few weeks and months here on Ghana Africa in Focus. All right. So for myself, Kwame, and from all the crew here on Ghana in Focus, is thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next edition of Ghana in Focus.